Hey guys, when I'm building web applications, I really enjoy using React Router, and they also have a React Native version, and I just tried it out the other day, and it's really sweet because it's almost the exact same as the web version, with a few slight differences, but a lot of times you can kind of just transfer over your knowledge from the web to the React Native version. So I actually didn't really even need to learn anything to pick up and use the React Native version. And I kind of wanted to take a quick deep dive into an application I just made using how the routing worked for it with native, because I did a few interesting things I wanted to show you guys. So real quick, this is the application I'm talking about. I made this this past weekend at a hackathon, and as you can see, one navigation piece is up here with this little back button, and then also you can see I'm switching between pages here, right? So I want to just go through how the heck did I get this navigation working, and how do I have a back button here, and do I have a back button here, and how do I get it to work across these things. So here's the code for it. This is index.js has basically all the routes, and this is like the configuration of the whole application. So up here at the top, the main bits are that we're importing are native base. This is for styling, and you can see there's some things I'm not using. Here's actually grabbing from React Router, and you can see the name of the components are the exact same. You could be grabbing this from DOM as well, but we're using router instead of browser router, so that's different. But route and switch are the same. This stuff is for GraphQL, you don't have to worry about it. And then here I'm grabbing this thing called create history from history/create memory history. The reason I'm doing this is to actually get the back button to work, because I want to have a reference to this history down here, as you're going to see. I call history.goBack, and history I'm grabbing from right here. And then I'm grabbing all the components right here as well. So this is all the components in my application, just grabbing them here and then putting them into routes. So the reason why I'm creating the history here, normally you don't need to do this. React Router will handle the history for you. You don't have to even see it. Is because I wanted a reference to the history in this. I didn't want to create a route. I wanted to have history right here. So normally how you would be able to access history is if I pass in my home component, because it's a route, I can access it and see it. But you'll notice how I wanted to call history right here, which is in this page. So to do that, I wanted to make the history up here. And you'll notice what's happening is, and we can close these, this is just some GraphQL stuff. What you'll notice is with the history stuff is I'm passing the history into the router, so it actually knows to use this history object. And so when I call history.goBack here, it's actually going to use the same history object that the router's using, so they're in sync. And you'll notice how I'm doing this .goBack, and that's how this guy works. So I'm telling it to go back to the previous one, and I'll explain more about how that is actually working in a second. But you'll notice how there's a lot of actual just React Native code mixed in with the routes. So here you can see I have containers, headers. This is so this little thing at the top here, I can see it across different pages. So that way it's on this page and on this page. We can see that there. And the routes here, I'm doing a little switch, so we only pick one of these routes. You'll notice how I'm like kind of nesting the routes a little bit. So I'm doing a switch. I either want to grab the home page, or I want to grab a different page. Now, if I grab the home page, I don't want this little container. That's why I set it up like this. So the home page, you'll notice, doesn't have this little top back button thingy, but my rest of the pages, I do want them to have that. So that's what's going on there. Because if I go click on guess, click on one of these, you'll notice the back button stays there the whole time. And the reason for that is because this container right here, we're wrapping this, and we have the header here, and the header is going to be here no matter if we're on the guest page, shelter page, any of these pages, we're going to have it right here. And you notice I thought this was kind of interesting. We use the path, like this is a URL, even though this is React Router and there's no paths. So you notice I kind of used a weird, I used camel case here, and also capitalize this. The only reason for this is so it would match the component name, so it was easy to remember. I'm actually not sure what the best practice is to name paths for React Router, since no one's actually going to see this, like the users. But that's kind of interesting. So basically we switch, we grab either the home component or we grab a component or a route here. So this path slash catches everything else. And then we want to grab and we want to wrap in a container. And then we do another switch here to pick the last route between these guys to put our container in. So I want to just like show you what's happening when I click these two buttons. So this home component is right here. Passed down in the props is a history. That's what this guy is here, and I can call history.push, and you can see there's a lot of ESLint errors here, but you can see how when we press the button we are calling history.push, and we're going to /GuestRegister or /DonorRegister. And we can see that name matches up here just like you would in the web version. So for GuestRegister, I actually got rid of this page because I didn't really want this page to run. I just want to kind of use it as an intermediate stage to set the guest ID. This was kind of like a register, create your account page, but I ended up not wanting to show it. So whenever this component mounted, I kind of wanted to just push to the next page. So what I did, but here's the thing. Here's a little error that I was having. So when I click on guests, it would take me to this page, and I can actually just show you guys. So if I get rid of this replace, I'm just going to go ahead and save, and it should refresh here. So I click on guests, and now I hit the back button. You notice how it keeps taking me back here. Why is it doing that? Well, notice how when this guest register component will mount, I'm jumping to shelters. So this page is the shelters page. And what happened when I click this button is I actually go to GuestRegister. So I go to this page, which then navigates to shelters. So our stack looks like this. So our history stack has /home, and then I'm going to /GuestRegister, and let's capitalize this. And then I'm going to /shelters, right? So when I click on this push right here, I'm actually going to be going to the shelters page. So when I hit the back button, I just get rid of shelters and I come back to this guest register page. But whenever this component mounts, we push back to the shelter page. And so when I hit the back button again, I just keep kind of like juggling between these. So on this page, I go back to guest register, which then when that mounts, it hits me back here. So what I have to do is whenever this component mounts, is I have to get rid of this entry. So what's going to happen is here's the stack. We have /home, which we of course started at. Then we come here, right, and this page. So we have guest register and the stack too. And when I call this .props.history.replace, what we do is we actually replace our last entry, which is this guy, with a slash, which is the same thing as the home route. And actually we can get rid of this, right, because I don't actually have a home route here. You notice I just have this, which maps to home. So this will actually replace this guy. We get rid of it. So now our only two things in the stack are a slash and shelters. That way when I push the back button, so we save it, instead of taking us back to guest register, it takes us back all the way here. So we click that, takes us back there. So I had to do this little hack where I replace the last entry to push. But you'll notice how .push, if you use the web version, all these things work on the React Native version as well. The only difference I did in the React Native version was having to create this history, and that's because I wanted to have this back button across all these routes, and I had to use the memory history because they don't actually have, it's not a web browser. So you would not use create memory history for the web. You use a different one if you wanted to create history. And so this was the last cool thing, is just having this container around. That way I only have to create this once, right? And it's on all my pages. And this back button just works no matter where I am. It just goes back in the history. So the navigation was really nice. I do want to try out some different React Native navigations though. I was really happy with how this one performed. React Router Native worked very nicely. I don't really have any complaints about it at all, actually. I also want to try out React Navigation. I've heard that one's really good, and I haven't tried it out yet. And then I have tried React Native Router Flux, but I think I like this one a little better because I'm used to how it is on the web, and this one's really nice. So that's it for this video, guys. This code for this is up on GitHub if you want to check out how this works in depth. The code is really messy because it was written at a hackathon, but you can kind of see how React Native navigation can work with this library. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.